expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. Certainly a lot to go over today, a lot to get to. Special guest joining us. David Pakman's going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour, so certainly looking forward to that. And, a lot of other stuff to get into. This Natalie Harp saga with MAGA seems to be getting more and more heated as time goes by. So we're definitely going to get into that. And also Laura Ingraham just losing her mind on Fox News last night. So a lot to talk about. And I figured what better person to do that, of course. He's been covering this Natalie Harp thing from the beginning, before anybody knew who she was. Of course, I'm talking about the editor-in-chief of Midas Touch, and always a pleasure to have Ron Filipkowski join us on the show. Ron, it's good to see you as always, my friend. How are you?
Good. Yeah, you're right. They're really melting down over Natalie. Ossoff really touched the nerve there with that one.
I have to read, because your tweets are very funny and snarky, and I love them. And I want to read one of them because you tweeted this out today, and I just couldn't stop laughing. So to summarize the right-wing news cycle on Jon Ossoff over the last 24 hours, Trump supporters are saying Ossoff is a bad guy because he inherited wealth, is a misogynist, and wears makeup. You can't make this stuff up. It's so insane, right, Ron?
It really is comical to hear them take just an offhanded remark, like a little poke at Trump that Ossoff made over the weekend, where all he said was, in the middle of a long rant about Trump, basically what it was about is how he's traveling the world, building his ballroom, all while a war is going on. He doesn't care about the American people. He's playing golf. And he's flying in the Qatari jet with his assistant, Natalie Harp. Mm-hmm. And I think he's making the point that, when Trump was overseas, when he abandoned the press corps, most of his cabinet on the decoy plane, he made sure to take Natalie Harp on the very short list of people to go with him, his constant companion. And the fact that she spends every weekend with him at Bedminster, at Mar-a-Lago, wherever he goes, she goes, and Melania is nowhere to be found. So, right. All Ossoff did was mention the flight, and it was really amazing to watch Republicans just absolutely melt down. Yeah. And I think the fact that they came out and said he was accusing Trump of having an affair with her. Well, many other people have made that accusation or that allusion, but he didn't do that. But right. It's just like, I was just kind of poking them going, well, why did you immediately go there? Why would you assume that? Why would that be your first assumption? That why would you think that that's what he was talking about? He didn't say that.
I saw that tweet and I laughed at that yesterday too. And I find it so interesting that some of the biggest misogynists out there on the far right are asking Ossoff to apologize, like the Newt Gingriches of the world, right? A guy whose wife was dying of cancer, and he left her while she was dying to be with another woman. And he's the guy who's saying Ossoff should apologize. Like literally, Ron, right? Some of the worst people and misogynist pigs on the right are so angry at Ossoff saying he should, stop traveling with Natalie Harp. It's ridiculous.
And Ossoff has never had a scandal.
Right.
By all accounts, all the Capitol Hill reporters say that they have nothing on him. It's hard to even get any interviews with him because all he does is work. He works extremely hard on policy, legislation, preparing for hearings, and then he goes straight home to his wife and kids. Right. And he's a family man. He's not one of these guys who hangs out with lobbyists or reporters or goes to bars or clubs or all these swanky places in DC. He's just not one of those guys. And that's why really prior to this year, when he's in the middle of his reelection campaign, we really didn't hear that much or see him that much on TV or anything like that over the last couple of years, because that's just not his jam. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of funny when, the Republicans are looking for ways to strike back at Ossoff and attack him because he mentioned Natalie Harp. And the things that they are coming up with is just ridiculous. The fact that he had a trust fund It's like this guy lives so humbly. He does not, and he's dedicated his life to public service and feeding the poor. And you can go back and look at his history as a long history of helping people. So you contrast that with Trump, who inherited $400 million and, had all these shady business deals and promptly had 6 bankruptcies, but it's the Trump supporters criticizing him for inheriting money. And Laura Ingham talked about the fact that Ossoff wears makeup, that he had like a makeup line in his campaign finance report where he paid a makeup art. Well, that's to do when he's going under the lights at campaign rallies. If you don't wear something, some of those lights are going to wash you out. You're going to look like a ghost up there.
Right.
So but he doesn't wear makeup like every day. He doesn't wear makeup walking around DC like Trump, who slathers on thick bronzer every single day. So it's just kind of a joke that they're trying to claim he's a misogynist when Trump has had 27 different women accuse him of sexual assault, and he's adjudicated liable in a civil court for one of those and had to pay $5 million for it. So to call him like a trust fund baby who wears too much makeup, who's a misogynist, as a Trump supporter, to say that about Ossoff is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely insane. And we've talked about this before. A really smart guy. Reminds me of Barack Obama when he speaks. Does all the right things. As you mentioned, good family man. It's insane. And the only insult that Donald Trump could come up with was Pee Wee Herman. Yeah. I mean, it's like 12-year-old stuff. It's insane. Let's talk about Natalie Harp for a moment, though, okay? And listen, I'm not going to ask you about whether you think they're in a relationship or anything like that, because we'd be speculating. But let's just talk about what we do know, and the White House doesn't really want to respond to it. This story that came out that apparently she was living in a locker room at his golf course because they wouldn't get her a room because there were people within the Trump camp that felt uncomfortable with Harp around. We've mentioned Melania Trump. She hasn't made any public appearances, hasn't been seen in like a month. You talk about the fact that, in that plane when he went into the food truck, for lack of a better catering truck, takes Natalie Harp with him and leaves Caroline Leavitt on the plane.
Left Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
Left Scott Bessent.
Right.
Left the Secretary of State and the Treasury Secretary behind.
Right. You
and
add
took
all these,
Harp.
Yeah. And I didn't even mention Natalie Harp's family, right? Her own brother said that it was an unhealthy relationship and members of her family aren't even talking to her anymore. When you add all these things up, I think it's very fair for somebody to speculate that this woman might be a little nutty. And you look at some of the things she said in public on stage years ago. This is a lunatic. This is a mentally ill woman. And then people on the right, oh, you're making fun of a woman who survived bone cancer. This has nothing to do with that. Why are you even bringing that up? I'm glad she survived the cancer. What we're saying has nothing to do with that. You just add up her behavior and all the circumstantial evidence, for lack of a better word, around this. And yeah, I think it's fair to raise some questions, right, Ron?
Yeah, there's a really good account on social media, Decoding Fox News, and it's a woman who does a lot of commentary and monitors Fox and different right-wing channels. And she put out a really good montage yesterday, 2 days ago, about Harp when she was an OAN host, far-right host. She actually had the spot that Matt Gaetz currently has. And you listen to that, and it sounds like somebody who is just so far gone and deep into the Trump cult. She's just a very strange character, a very, very odd person. And yes, we have all these different quotes of her talking about how much she worships him, how much she means to him. We have Trump also commenting about her for the Jonathan Swan, Maggie Haberman book, saying that when all my other aides leave me and they go off to make money or write their books or take jobs in media, Natalie will never leave me. That's what he said. And she's like, what, 26, and he's 80 years old. Sick. And look, Donald Trump has a long history of cheating on his wives with younger, attractive women, particularly blondes. And you have this woman who is basically obsessed with him and with him 24 hours a day when his wife is nowhere to be found. So I have no issue with people who want to speculate on that, because if it was a Democrat, if this was Joe Biden running around the world with a young aide or Barack Obama, with Michelle nowhere to be found for a month, you can best believe Fox would be talking about it 24 hours a day.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Do you think at some point here in the next 2.5 years that somebody is going to catch them holding hands, or that somebody is going to catch them with a romantic kiss or something like that? Do you think there's a possibility that that might happen?
Well, I think that I was thinking about this. I thought that we would probably get an appearance by Melania this week now. I speculated that because I've always believed that she's negotiated her prenuptial agreement 3 times. And the last time she did it was after January 6th, after he lost the presidency, because obviously she knows a lot. She knows more than anyone. She could hurt Trump more than any person on earth if she wanted to, by coming out and saying publicly what he does in private and says in private. So Trump has to keep her clearly happy, and that largely means money, it seems like. And so I think that part of the prenuptial agreement, of course, we don't know what's in it, but I think part of that includes a specific number of times that she has to appear with him. She has to appear in public, because we've noticed that number of appearances steadily come down.
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't surprise me for him to bring her out to an event, since she hasn't been seen in over a month.
Yeah.
Where like he's holding her hand. He's holding Melania's hand, to try and show this, like, hey, we're still happily married. This is all nonsense.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it definitely wouldn't surprise me if Trump is still alive at the end of his term for her to follow Natalie Harp, to follow him to Mar-a-Lago, and for Melania to be nowhere around. Because keep in mind, by the way, before he ran for president, she was absolutely nowhere around. Right. She was living in New York while he lived in Mar-a-Lago from 2021, 2022, 2023. She only started coming back around Trump in his orbit, Melania, when he ran for president again.
Yeah. That's got to be awkward too for both of them. I would imagine for Melania and for Natalie Harp, that's got to be a bizarre situation behind closed doors. I wanted to ask you this too. So they're all hanging out, not Melania, but Natalie Harp and Alina Habba. They were hanging out over the weekend and partying. I don't know why, when you look at what's going on with this war in Iran and the economy, but they're all celebrating. And now there's speculation that Habba could be the next press secretary. Obviously, I would put Scott Jennings up there as well. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think Habba could be the next press secretary?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Jennings, because I think Jennings is just making way too much money now with his new contract at CNN. And, when you walk away from a gig like that, there's no guarantee you're going to get it back. And he signed a big contract to do his new podcast, which is where he made his recent comments about Hassan Piker and did a very deceptively edited video, which Piker is now apparently going to sue him for defamation. But that happened on his podcast, so his new podcast. So with him signing a new deal with CNN and this new podcast deal, and those deals just starting, and I think he's making somewhere around, between the two deals, I think around $20 million a year. And keep in mind, like, this guy didn't make very much money before this. Like, this is all very newfound fame for him. He got put on the Abby Phillips show and sort of made a name for himself as being the villain of CNN and saying all these crazy things and all these lies, and that he parlayed that into these 2 big contracts. So I find it hard to believe that he would walk away from those at a time when the Trump administration could lose both the House and the Senate, could be under constant investigation. He's a lame duck. You got an unpopular war going on, and Trump's press secretaries don't last very long. So I don't think it's going to be him.
Yeah.
If I had to bet on any one person, I'd probably would bet on Habba, would probably be my choice. But it also could be somebody completely out of the blue that we hadn't even thought of, some minor. It wouldn't shock me if he hires somebody else from Fox.
Not going to be a man. I would be shocked if it was a man. But we'll have to wait.
It hasn't been since Spicer.
Right, since Sean Spicer. So I don't think it's going to be a man, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. I wanted to ask you this real quickly, because I'm going to be having a run-in with Dinesh D'Souza in Las Vegas very soon at a debate. And I've
He
talked
just
about,
settled a lawsuit today.
yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, because I've called that fake documentary 2000 Lies, because they weren't able to prove one crime was committed in that entire film, documentary, fiction, whatever you want to call it. And people still quote it. Well, have you watched 2000 Mules? The election was stolen. And now, once again, he had to pay somebody out in a suit, and he didn't want to go to trial. I'm wondering what you make of that, and the just the cult of people that still talk about this fictional documentary.
Well, let's not forget the person who was behind, I forgot his name. I don't recall it off the top of my head, but the guy who was behind the whole premise of 2000 Mules and the whole investigation was this guy from Texas who was appointed by Trump as a reward as the deputy FEMA director. And then he promptly went on and started doing interviews where he talked about being teleported and kidnapped by aliens. And he made all these insane, wild claims on various podcasts. And when media finally, this was like 4 months ago, and when media finally picked up on it and started writing stories about it, that guy was immediately fired by Trump. That's the 2000 Mules guy. D'Souza took that guy's work, his various conspiracies and lies, doctored videos, fake cell phone data, and made a documentary out of it in 2022, which Trump hyped the hell out of it because it helped. That was at a time when Trump was trying very hard to convince his followers that he really did win. The election was stolen. And that movie was instrumental in doing that. Also, that movie made Dinesh D'Souza more money because Dinesh D'Souza for the last, 15, 20 years, since he washed out as far as being like a columnist and a TV person, and he went into the fringes of the political universe, he's been making these political documentaries, these right-wing documentaries. Many of them lose money. He rarely makes a lot of money off these things. And he hit the jackpot with 2000 Mules because Trump promoted the hell out of it. So this guy made a lot of money. And after it all came out and everything happened, he was forced to admit that it was all lies. It was all fraudulent. And he had to settle the most recent lawsuit against an election worker in Georgia that he defamed. He settled the lawsuit today because it was about to go to trial on Monday, which every single one of these guys, whether it's Rudy Giuliani, you can go right down the list, always talk all this crap on TV and podcasts and social media. And then when you get them in a courtroom, they fold every single time. And that's what happened with Dinesh. Again, I think this is a second lawsuit he's folded on. Correct. On 2000 Mules. And he had to admit that the movie was lies, and he had to make a public apology to the election worker. That all happened today. So the whole thing was all just fiction. It was all made up. And yet, as you said, there's still millions of people who believe it.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Last question. I know that you haven't really covered this much at all. And quite frankly, I don't blame you because I really, in the grand scheme of things, don't care what a guy like an Andrew Wilson or a Candace Owens think about what happened to Charlie Kirk, because they're not in the courtroom. And I think we'll agree on this. What matters is what's going to happen in the courtroom, right? What does a jury decide? Let's look at the evidence. What does the prosecution have? That's what really matters, right? We have a system in this country. But are you surprised at how much weight that debate had and how many people watched it? And really, in my opinion, how embarrassing it was for Andrew Wilson, in my opinion, who paid $300,000 to debate Candace Owens and didn't seem like he was very prepared. What are your thoughts on that debate?
Well, no, you're right. I didn't watch it. The only part of this that interests me, and first of all, I was very, very surprised that the conspiracies around the Kirk assassination got so big and so popular, and there was so many on the right. I mean, there's always some that are going to fall for these wild conspiracies, but I mean, the evidence here was pretty clear and pretty overwhelming that it was this guy. But, they never want to believe that people like this acted alone. They always want to think that there is some grand conspiracy behind it. But in this particular case, what was interesting about it was the conspiracy wasn't pointing fingers at the left. It wasn't pointing fingers at the deep state. It was pointing fingers at Israel and other right-wing shadowy figures.
And Turning Point, yeah.
So was in Turning Point itself, and Erica Kirk, claiming that she was behind her own husband's assassination. So it was kind of like amusing just to sit back and not be involved in it. I mean, I would have been more involved in it had they been trying to blame Democrats or the left. Right. But since they were attacking each other, I just sort of sat back and watched the show. But I really was surprised at the number of people who bought into the conspiracies. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you had the Turning Point people in the courtroom watching the trial, and people like Jack Posobiec frantically, tweeting and stuff on what the evidence and how it was so overwhelming and all this stuff, trying to convince these people. So it's funny trying to watch right-wing conspiracy theorists trying to convince other right-wing conspiracy theorists that the actual evidence was true and not their conspiracy theories. It was
true. The guy,
the Pizzagate guy, was doing that.
I was just going to say that the guy who was involved in promoting Pizzagate is now the guy trying to tell everybody, no, this isn't a conspiracy theory. I mean, I think at times, as I've said this publicly, I don't think Israel or France was involved here. I do think there are some suspicious behavior from Erica Kirk and Turning Point. I've never said that I think they're responsible, but her behavior is weird. I think we agree on that. And I also think that there are some unanswered questions, his security detail, why they paved over, the crime scene. But as I've said all along, let's see what happens in the courtroom. We have a system. Let's see. Tyler Robinson has the ability to defend himself in a court of law, and let's see where it plays out. I do think that Candace Owens raises some fair questions, and I would assume the defense will raise those same questions. But no, I don't think Israel or France was involved, and Tyler Robinson might have been the only person involved. And I guess we'll just wait and see how it plays out in a courtroom, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume he's just going to get convicted from what I read from all the reporting. Mm-hmm. That the evidence is pretty overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So
we'll see.
And you're right. The succession at Turning Point, and the fact that who ended up being in charge, and again, I don't even know what their view count is on their podcast, which they're all still living off Charlie's name, and even the guys doing the podcast still, his former co-host, are still calling it the Charlie Kirk podcast.
Ridiculous. So, it's ridiculous.
With no Charlie Kirk, because they know that if they put out the Andrew Colvett podcast, no one's going to watch it.
Andrew's dry and boring, and people can say what they want about Charlie Kirk. I didn't like the guy personally, but the guy made a name for himself, and his podcast, a lot of people watched it.
He was very good at and effective at what he did.
No question. I would never take that away from him. Absolutely. And Andrew is watching paint dry. So I certainly agree with you there. What do you got working on your Substack today, Ron?
A lot of Ossoff stuff. Doing he had a rally today in Georgia with Senator Mark Kelly, which I thought was really great, where they were both just taking turns hammering away at Trump and the Republicans and all that kind of stuff. So a little bit of stuff on that, a little bit more Natalie Harp follow-up stuff covering Fox News. Asen has started, our digital editor at Midas has started a new thing where he tracks every single day mentions, like what Fox News is covering, and the number of mentions that they have of each topic.
I've seen that.
Which I think is incredibly fascinating for me to see, like, what Fox is focused on every single day.
Right.
And so I'm kind of writing a little bit about that because I thought that was pretty interesting.
It is phenomenal. I've seen those tweets from Asen, and to me, it's mesmerizing because it's
yesterday, like the last couple of days, it's been the WNBA.
Right,
it's been like the number one topic.
They bring up Sophie Cunningham more than the war in Iran. I mean, it's insane.
Natalie Harp was mentioned one time yesterday, one time, and they mentioned the WNBA like 67 times.
So stupid. I'm so glad he's doing that though, because it really does a good job in painting the picture of how unserious that network is, and the people who watch it and the people that they appease. So I'm glad that he's doing that. I hope he continues to do that because I think it's awesome. I love what you guys do at Midas Touch, Ron. Please keep up the great work, my friend. Can't wait for your Substack coming out later today, and we will catch up with you next week, my friend. Always appreciate the time, Ron. Thanks so much.
Okay, man. See you later.
Thanks, Ron. All right, Ron Filipkowski, everybody, editor-in-chief of Midas Touch. I love Ron. He's the best. And his Substack is incredible. And his tweets are absolutely hilarious. All right, so we're going to take a very quick. You know what? Let's keep it here because I have some stuff to clean up. I changed my mind. David Pakman is going to be joining us here any minute. Couple things to clean up here. First of all, as I told you guys, I'm going to be in Dallas on September 9th, the Republican National Convention. And I'm going to be there covering the event. Yes, I will have security with me, by the way. Also, I'm going to be doing an event there in Dallas on the 9th. As we put that image up there on the screen, and it's up there right now. Thank you, Numchuck. You can purchase tickets. I'll be doing a live debate out there. We have somebody in mind on the right that is a big name that I'm planning on debating, but we can't release it publicly yet because we got to get things signed. But I'll be doing a live debate with a live audience, and you can be a part of that audience. And I promise I'll come out and I'll say hello to everybody. Tickets are like $20. So you go on there, you can take a look, and you can purchase tickets. Again, that is September 9th. So please check that out. Also, we have new shirts that are up on pushingthelimits.live. We still have Don't Be a Right-Wing Buffoon shirt. Don't Be a Trump Mushroom Gobbler shirt. We've got the Pod Him Down shirt. Now we have a new shirt that just came out today where I'm pointing at you. It's a new shirt that just came out today. It's live. You can buy the shirt for under $30. Don't Be a Trump Mushroom Gobbler shirt. Instead of me pointing at Trump, I'm pointing at you. So those shirts are kind of fun. So check it out, pushingthelimits.live, where you can make that purchase as well. Some great guests lined up for the remainder of the week. Brian Callen is awesome. He's one of my favorite stand-up comedians. You know him from the Hangover movies, old school. He's been in some classics. And he's got a great podcast, too. He's going to be joining me on the show Thursday. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Our Attorney General is Aaron Ford. And Aaron Ford is going to be joining us on the show Friday, the Attorney General. He's running for governor of the great state of Nevada also. So certainly looking forward to having them on the show. William He is going to be joining us on the program tomorrow. Shannon's everywhere. She's known on social media. She is a Republican, staunch conservative. I've debated her before. She's going to be in studio tomorrow for an hour tomorrow. So I'm going to be face-to-face with her and try to figure out why she supports Donald Trump. Why are you still a fan of Donald Trump? So all that stuff looking forward to over the course of the next couple days. And we're going to be going over here just in a little bit here. The right just losing their mind because John Ossoff said that this woman, Natalie Harp, travels with him on a plane. So we got a lot of other stuff to get to coming up a little bit later on in the program. So the guy that I'm introducing next, obviously I'm a big fan of his work. I've been following him on social media for a very long time. By the way, the reason why I got into the radio is because of Howard Stern. Howard Stern is also a huge fan of this man who has a new book out. It's called Pay Attention, How the Algorithms and Media Wars Are Suppressing Truth and Rewiring Your Brain. I've been talking about this for years. It's a fascinating topic, and I think it's ruining society, quite frankly. That man joining us right now, and it's a pleasure to have him on, David Pakman. David, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well, Brian. Always good to see you, to talk to you. Love it.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on, David. You know, this book that you just wrote, it's interesting because I've been talking about this for years, and I feel like during COVID, a lot of people's brains were triggered, or if you want to use the term, as you say, rewired.
Yep.
People were stuck in their homes and their apartments, and they watched a lot of right-wing media and social media. And I just feel like they were brainwashed. Do you feel like that was a big trigger during COVID?
It was. And one of the things I talk about in the book is that a lot of people who were just genuinely, innocently looking for information were sucked into these algorithms. One of the examples and stories I talk about is you've got these mom Facebook groups, which can be great places to just like, hey, I need a different crib for my kid sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. That became a funnel during COVID into like, hey, after you get your crib, what kind of pediatrician do you have? Does your pediatrician require your kid to be vaccinated? Well, here's a whole bunch of anti-vax stuff. And then from the anti-vax into, we should show up at school board meetings in order to advocate that only right-wing books be given. And next thing you know, it's Candace Owens, it's Laura Loomer, it's this sort of stuff. And it happens slowly, it happens innocently. And if people aren't aware of how this can happen, you're way more susceptible for falling into it.
What is it about conspiracy theories that people seem to be latched onto, David? Because it just seems to me that that's what gets ratings, right? When you look at somebody like an Alex Jones, for example, who's a nut, and finally he had to be held to account, right, David, when he lied about the school shooting in Connecticut. But why is it? It just seems to me that these conspiracy theorists, are the ones that are getting all the clicks. Why do you think that is?
So there's two things going on. In general, if content introduces you to a villain or makes you afraid or angry, you're way more likely to engage with it. That's like very much top level. Conspiracy theories do that, but they do this other really important thing, which is when people sometimes hear about an event that seems random and horrible. The Sandy Hook shooting is an example. Could have happened at any school, happened at this particular school. Anybody at the school could have been killed, but specific people were killed. It's freaking terrifying, right? The idea that there are random, horrible events. And what's appealing about the conspiracy theory is it replaces the randomness with, it wasn't random. There was a plan. There were actors. This was an orchestrated thing. And for some people, believing that completely unpredictable, random bad stuff can happen is so scary that they latch onto this was a controlled thing because it feels better in some way.
Yeah, no, you're right. By the way, if you're just joining us, he's David Pakman. His new book, Pay Attention, How the Algorithms and Media Wars Are Suppressing Truth and Rewiring Your Brain. I mean, I feel like, David, most of these conspiracy theories are obviously coming from the right. I was just talking to Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch and the movie, the fake documentary, 2000 Mules, a bunch of conspiracy theories there, and people still believe that. The 2020 election was stolen, the lies about elections, and so I think that started obviously back in 2015 when Donald Trump said that, Hillary was going to steal the election and the Democrats were going to steal it. What do you think is most dangerous about, social media these days? Because obviously the conspiracy theories are a big part of it, but you have young teenagers also that are committing suicide. There's cyberbullying going on. I just think social media in general, obviously this is what we do. We need to use social media to promote our shows, but I just feel like in general, David, it's all really bad for society.
Yeah. What really is terrible is that we on the left kind of have two choices. One is we go, this is so terrible that we're just going to get off. We're not going to participate. And the problem with doing that is that you cede the ground to the absolute worst people. We're trying to push back this avalanche. And if we just get out of the way, the avalanche just comes flying down. And I would argue that society gets even worse. So the alternative is we have to be there and we have to play the game. And playing the game means some compromises. If you do videos on YouTube, you have to make the titles interesting. It's just kind of like the reality of the thing. And so I think that the solution is, first, we do have to start winning on these platforms. And then the dream would be to transform society a little bit through education and talking to people so that it's not the stuff that gives you some imaginary villain that does the best. Like, we retrain people with media literacy and some of these skills so that crap just isn't as effective.
But what you're really good at, and I love watching your interviews because you're always keeping your cool, but you've interviewed some very crazy people, as I have as well, but I lose my cool with some of these people.
I've seen that. You fly off the handle. Yeah,
I do. I get a little crazy, David. I wish my blood sugar, my blood pressure was around where yours is.
Right.
I lose it sometimes. I'm working on that, David. But for example, if I'm interviewing Mike Lindell and you do such a good job at just being calm and laying your framework, you're a really smart guy and you don't need to raise your voice and do what I do. But like when you're interviewing somebody like that, I would find it difficult to take these people seriously. I'm not saying you take them seriously, but to interview them and not get so frustrated with their rhetoric because, Mike Lindell does have a platform, right? And when he says things that are loopy and crazy, there's people that believe it. And then we have things like January 6th, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that my approach to those interviews and to talking, because I'll also, I'll go on live on TikTok and just let people talk to me or whatever.
Yeah.
I am communicating not so much for the person I'm talking to, but for the audience. And my idea is that if Mike Lindell, I call him Mike Pillow or just Pillow sometimes. If I'm talking to Mike Pillow and he's saying this crazy stuff and I become enraged, my feeling is that the people watching will go, damn, if David's getting this upset, maybe there is something to what Pillow is saying. Maybe David doesn't have evidence to rebut what he's saying.
Right.
My thought is, what is going to be most effective to communicate to the audience? And my belief has come to be that I very calmly explain, hey, you don't have the evidence that 2020 was stolen. Your cyber guys didn't find any evidence. You lost a lawsuit and you have to pay a guy because the guy proved that you were lying. That's kind of the framework I'm operating in.
Have you ever lost your cool at all? Like, have you ever in your entire career, have you ever just?
Yeah. I mean, what tends to set me off more is when I can't even get a word in because the other person is interrupting and talking.
Piers Morgan. I saw that.
That happens on Piers Morgan. And at that point, it's like, can we just have a second so you can even hear what I'm saying, please? Then tell me why I'm wrong and why you disagree. But give me a second to lay it out at least.
Right.
You know?
No, that completely makes sense. Again, David's book is Pay Attention, How the Algorithms and Media Wars Are Suppressing Truth and Rewiring Your Brain. And I think it's a big part of why Donald Trump won 2 out of the last 3 elections. I think because a lot of people have been brainwashed. They're on social media. They watch right-wing entities, whether it be Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, or they're on X, which I just think there's so many lunatics on there.
Yeah,
it's insane. I just want to get your take real quickly, David, on what's going on in this country right now, just in general terms. I mean, are you surprised at all where we're at in Donald Trump's second term, where we're in an ill-advised war? At least I think it's an ill-advised war we should have never gotten into.
Agreed.
You look at where the economy is at right now, where by almost every economic metric, except for maybe the stock market, we're in a worse position now than we were when Joe Biden left office. Did you see this coming, and are you surprised at all?
No, I'm not surprised. And, one of the things that I try to be careful about is there's a lot of people right now. I mean, when Trump's approval is 33% based on a recent Reuters Ipsos poll, you don't get down to 33% without some members of your own party saying, I don't approve. And one of the things I'm trying to be careful about is when these Republicans go, you know what, this is not good. I voted for it, but I'm realizing it's not good. I don't want to shame them because we want them, especially in the midterms, stay home. Don't go vote for your Republican representative or come and join us and vote for some better candidates on the Democratic side. So I don't want to shame them, but I also don't want to pretend that this was completely unforeseeable because you were talking about the fact that it was going to be this way and I was talking about it. So it's not like, oh, we pat ourselves on the back and we go, we told you so, but it's, hey, it's awesome that you're rethinking your vote. It's awesome that you figured out this was a bad idea.
Yeah.
But when they try to bamboozle you the next time, remember that we warned you and it wasn't unknowable and unpredictable. That's, I think, the balance we have to strike right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I know you don't get really wrapped up in the TMZ gossip stuff because you don't. I know you're not. And listen, I can understand why, right? There's more important, prevalent things to talk about. But I wanted to ask you this real quickly. What do you make of the fact that the Newt Gingriches of the world and some misogynists that are on the right are so angry at John Ossoff because he said Donald Trump is traveling with Natalie Harp?
Yeah.
I find it so interesting. Look at who you support, and what did John Ossoff say other than, well, traveling with Natalie Harp? That's really all he said. And now they're calling him a misogynist. I'm wondering what you make of that.
Well, you know what's really funny? John Ossoff stated facts. If Donald Trump is traveling with Natalie Harp instead of other people, it's because he wants to travel with her instead of other people. It's a statement of fact. He's the president of the United States. He decides who goes where. So Ossoff made statements of fact. Now, a lot of these people are interpreting Ossoff's comments as suggesting that Trump may be in a romantic relationship with Natalie Harp.
Right.
And I got to tell you, it's a completely reasonable question to be asking. Donald Trump has a history of affairs. And so he seems to be estranged from Melania Trump with the rare exception of a public event she participates in. It's a natural question to be asking, but it's funny that it's Republicans who keep talking about it directly after Ossoff just said he just wants to travel around with her. So I think that that's very interesting. But the biggest hypocrisy of it all is that Republicans have been arguing as far as policy goes for so long that, some Republicans saying even up to women shouldn't have the right to vote. Less common, but more commonly stuff about we in DC should decide, mostly white men, whether they have access to reproductive health care or whatever the case may be. And now all of a sudden they're crying crocodile tears. Newt Gingrich was like, they're going after a working professional woman.
Right.
That has nothing to do with the critique of Natalie Harp. The critique is this is an unqualified radical individual who Trump picked off of OAN. And instead of working as a brake pedal, she mashes the accelerator on every single one of Donald Trump's worst instincts. That's a crisis if that's who's sort of guiding the president. The critique isn't she's a woman or whatever else. Now, maybe they're having a romantic relationship, maybe they're not, but that's not really the problem.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. And speaking of problems, the way the White House has reacted to this is very bizarre as well. But what do you make now of Caroline Leavitt leaving? I would imagine that probably surprised you. It certainly surprised me because I think it came out of nowhere. And who do you think will be her replacement?
Replacement, it's seeming like Anna Kelly, the deputy press secretary, is a top choice, or maybe like Alina Habba or something like that. I thought it was interesting. There's a couple possibilities. There may have been some rift behind the scenes that precipitated this. That's a possibility. Number two, Caroline Leavitt did just have a kid, and it would be completely reasonable for her to want some time off. And if she took a bunch more time off than what she took, it's going to be close to the end of Trump's term. Maybe it really is about family. I do think that there's a good chance here that Caroline is realizing the legacy of this administration is ruined. And the last press secretary is the one that will sort of be remembered. Like the person we remember from Trump's first term is Kayleigh McEnany. She was the final press secretary. Yeah, like Sean Spicer, no, he was comms director. We've mostly forgotten about the people before. And so Caroline Leavitt may just be saying, I'm going to kind of get out of Dodge and not be the final press secretary and remain affiliated with this second term disaster.
Interesting. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. I think you're right about that. Isn't it interesting, David, how, you got guys like El Said and, they did this with Mamdani, attacking him and attacking brown people with no real substance at all, right? I think Mamdani's doing a pretty good job, crime down in Manhattan. And they're doing the same thing with El Said, just like when they called him Barack Hussein Obama and the birther issue. It feels like this is all over again, right, David? Where they're, here's a man who married his college sweetheart. They're both doctors, very intelligent, articulate people. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them on everything. But the attacks, same thing with James Tellerico. They're saying low T and he's a vegan. I mean, these are not serious people, right? And I feel like they have nothing else to go on, right? I mean, they're defending Ken Paxton. I mean, it's insane.
It's an old playbook, it really is. And the truth is that they know they don't really have policy to run on because what have they done? You look at the promises of this administration and you look at the result and you go, well, we don't really have much to run on there. Republicans also know they can't really run by distancing themselves from Trump because then Trump comes after them and then they risk that problem. So they're kind of going with their same old tactics. Now, a lot of these races, the dynamics are very different. You've got Plattner's replacement in Maine, and then you've got Michigan, you've got Texas. There's an interesting situation in Alaska with two Daniel Sullivans and Mary Peltola. All these situations are different, and the candidates have to run different races in order to succeed. But the national Republican playbook is basically the same playbook that you're talking about, which is character assassination, focus on identity, focus on this stuff without real articulation of why the policy ideas are bad.
Yeah. Well, I want to get back to this book, and I want you to tell people how they can get their hands on it because it's an awesome read, how the algorithms and media wars are suppressing truth and rewiring your brain. Okay. So for people that do this for a living, they have to be on social media. They have to engage. I'll be honest with you, David. It drives me crazy sometimes. I don't enjoy it. It affects my mental health. What advice would you give to people, not even people that are like in our industry, but people that are, because it's an addiction, right? And I know you talk about that. People get addicted to social media. We could be talking about Facebook. We could be talking about X, whatever. So after writing this book and studying this, what advice would you give to people that admit that, I'm addicted to my cell phone and it's affecting my brain? What advice would you give to them?
So I do not suggest these digital detoxes where people lock up their devices and try to abstain for 30 days or forever or whatever the case may be. I think there's like a multi-step process, and Cal Newport has talked a lot about this. The first thing is oftentimes people are reaching for their devices in the absence of other stuff. And so the first thing is like, find positive things to fill your life with, whether it's a non-digital hobby, whether it's socializing, whatever it is. You got to have other stuff you're doing that will just make the spending time on social media a little bit less interesting. The second thing is, it is good to kind of set some limits. Now, for some people, it may be as simple as like, hey, I'm going to scroll for 20 minutes before dinner, and then I'm putting my phone away, and it's being, you decide how long you're going to spend on it. This is absolutely the key. And so it's the equivalent with TV. Some people are like, I just kind of turn on the TV and find something to watch, versus at 7 o'clock, there's a show I like, or I'll watch 2 episodes of Netflix. So you got to take control and be a little more proactive. And then the other thing is, try to find, as far as news and politics goes, identify sources you like and you trust. And if it's a newsletter or a Substack, figure out how to get their content sent to you rather than scrolling and hoping it algorithmically comes up. You can take control of like, here's the 3 people I like to watch. I'm going to have their content emailed to me every day. Cool. Rather than letting the algorithms decide what it is you're watching.
Really good advice. And I probably need to take that myself, David, before I let you go. Before I let you go, David, put out that information so that my listeners and people out there, how do they get their hands on this book that I think is a must read? I think it's a really, really important topic that you lay out. So how can people get their hands on this book?
If you go to davidpakman.com/attention, you can get signed books, not signed books, Kindle and audiobook. It's all available. I'm signing. You should see what's happening with my handwriting as I go. The first 50, the handwriting's pretty good. And then I start to, cramp up, but I'll keep signing these as long as people keep ordering them. But davidpakman.com/attention is where people can get any version of the book they want.
Awesome. I would highly recommend it. It's a great read. David, always appreciate it when you take the time. Big fan of your work. Please keep up the great work, and congratulations on the new book. And hopefully down the road, we'll have you on again, my friend. Always appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And likewise. And I saw you on Piers Morgan, and you were slapping people around figuratively. And it was very good to see. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, David. Appreciate you, brother. Love you. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Take care, David. That's David Pakman, everybody. Love his work. It's always great when I get to mix it up with people that I admire very much. And this show is a perfect example of that, right? Ron Filipkowski, I'm a big fan of his work. Very lucky that he comes on this show every week for Midas Touch. And I've been a fan of David's for a long time. I got to be honest, I was very jealous that Howard Stern, who is like my childhood idol, was praising David Pakman. I was very jealous of that. I'm like, boy, it'd be nice if I could get there one day, because that's why I got into radio, but rightfully so. I mean, David's brilliant. I think he's brilliant at what he does. Very intelligent guy, very good at what he does. And we appreciate him coming on. One more time, that new book, please get your hands on it. Pay attention. How the algorithms and media wars are suppressing truth and rewiring your brain. I'll also be honest. I wish I was less emotional. I wish I was more like a David Pakman. He's always like this straight shooter, calm, collected, and destroys people in the process. I wish I had that ability. I guess I just don't. I'm just, boom, I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to wear my emotion on my sleeve. Some people like it. Some people hate it, man. It's what I do. But thank you to David Pakman for joining us. Truly an honor once again to have him on the show. He's been on the show multiple times. So we'll have him on again, I'm sure, down the road. He's fantastic. So for those of you that might have been living under a rock, Jon Ossoff had a great speech over the weekend. And in that speech, he did mention Natalie Harp's name. It's a very brief moment. I thought it was a nothing burger, but I want to play it for you. This is what Jon Ossoff said.
And while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, the president sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar.
All right, so big deal, right? He didn't say that they were in a relationship. He just mentioned that Trump would rather travel with Natalie Harp, right? I didn't think it was much of a big deal. You could say that it was a little bit of a dig on Donald Trump. Okay, whatever. So the way that the right is responding to this, they're losing their mind. Now, it would be one thing if Jon Ossoff made a statement like they're sleeping together, or Donald Trump would rather have sex with Natalie Harp than Melania. Obviously, Jon Ossoff would never make a statement like that, right? He's got too much class to do that. That would be for me to do. But He didn't say any of those things. So this is how Donald Trump is responding when he was asked about the Natalie Harp statement that Ossoff made. This was Donald Trump's immediate insult. Watch this.
Yesterday, John Ossoff said you'd rather travel with your aide, Natalie Harp, and build the ballroom than do your job as president. What is your response, John Ossoff?
You mean Pee Wee Herman? Pee Wee Herman lookalike? No, I would much rather do other things. We're building a great facility here. We're fixing a White House that hasn't been taken care of. You can look at this. This room was a disgraceful situation in the Oval Office.
There you go. There's typical Donald Trump. Immediately starts talking about the ballroom and the gold plating everywhere in the White House, and then calls John Ossoff Pee Wee Herman. By the way, if there's anybody that is, I would compare to Pee Wee Herman, it would be Donald Trump based on sexcapades. When was the last time Melania Trump was in a bed with Donald Trump? So, I mean, you can probably make more correlations to Pee Wee Herman and Donald Trump than I would for Ossoff, who seems to be a very happily married man and a great husband and a great father. Now, like I said, there are people on the right that are calling now John Ossoff some sort of misogynist, which I think is absolutely insane and ridiculous. But Representative Luna, who is a complete imbecile and a Trump mushroom gobbler, is now calling Senator Ossoff a sexist, arrogant jerk. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. She supports Donald Trump. That's what she's saying about Mr. Ossoff. Watch this.
I have to make a video on this because John Ossoff, who's running for Senate in Georgia, took time today to be a sexist, arrogant, I don't know how else to say it. Is it not possible for young women that are attractive to be, I don't know, good at their jobs, being elevated to positions of power based on the fact that they're qualified for these positions? No, according to people like John Ossoff, who, by the way, instead of focusing on issues like maybe why his own party is blocking efforts to cap student loan interest at 2% because they don't want to work with Republicans ahead of the midterm, which, by the way, this would affect all Americans in a positive way. No, that's not important enough. What he wants to talk about is spreading a rude, disgusting rumor about a young woman who works as the president's assistant in the White House. Her name's Natalie Harp. For those people who don't know who Natalie is, she's incredibly important in regards to getting things done for the president, but not just that. She's actually a bone cancer survivor. So she was given a second chance on the president's right to try, and she's an incredible person.
Yeah, you idiot. By the way, according to her own family, she's not an incredible person. According to her own family, she's obsessed with Donald Trump, and it's an unhealthy relationship. But here's what I would ask Representative Luna, who's a complete idiot. I would say, what rumor is John Ossoff spreading? What exactly did John Ossoff say? Now, I played you the audio. He didn't spread any rumors. He didn't make any inappropriate remarks. All he said was Donald Trump would rather travel on Air Force One with Natalie Harp. That's all he said. So what is Luna talking about? Now, listen, I'll be the one to spread the rumor. I'll say it on the air right now. Yes, I think Donald Trump and this crazy lunatic Natalie Harp are banging. I'll say it right now. I think he's having an inappropriate relationship with her because he hasn't slept in the same bed with Melania since they conceived Barron. I'll say it right now. But that's not what John Ossoff said. And Luna's calling him sexist and misogynist. You voted for Donald Trump, you airhead, you dumb bimbo. You voted for Donald Trump, the guy who has over 25 women that accused him of rape or sexual assault, including his ex-wife, the guy who's a liable sexual abuser. You voted for the guy who bragged about grabbing women by the genitals. And you want to call Ossoff a misogynist? You want to call Ossoff a sexist because he said that he would rather hang out and fly with this woman, Natalie Harp. So that makes him a sexist? The hell are you talking about? And don't you bring up the cancer stuff and her bone cancer. That has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with the story. Yeah, I'm sure Luna is crying a river because Joe Biden has cancer, by the way. I'm sure she's sent Joe Biden best wishes and made videos about that. You imbecile, you airhead MAGA fool, you. Ossoff said nothing wrong. He's mocking Donald Trump, claiming that, yeah, Trump is not focused on the real issues. When all Ossoff does is he shows up, he goes to work every day, and he goes home. And he works, and he works, and he works. While you imbecile are taking videos and half-naked pictures and putting them up on social media, you moron. What an imbecile Luna is. And speaking of imbeciles, how about the evil racist witch? The scarecrow, Laura Ingraham. Shut up and dribble. Yeah, she's talking about, that's my Laura Ingraham impersonation, by the way. Welcome back to Fox News. So Laura Ingraham is attacking John Ossoff as well. Listen to what Laura Ingraham had to say about Ossoff on her show last night.
And now you have Georgia Senator John Ossoff trying to show that he's tough at a rally yesterday, launching a bizarre personal attack on President Trump and Natalie Harp, his longtime social media staffer. It was very oddball. The thing was just weird. Everything about him is choreographed, right down to the lighting effects and his impossibly earnest expression. But when you don't have a record of accomplishment, and he does not, it's all about vibes, isn't it? It's all about appearances.
He doesn't have any accomplishments. It's all about the look. Meanwhile, you dumb idiot, you support the guy who wakes up in the morning, puts on 8 layers of orange makeup, looking like an orange orangutan. And you want to talk about Ossoff? You want to talk about, oh, everything is staged? Really? What is she talking about? Because he made a speech? Because he is calling out Donald Trump and speaking truth? Somehow she wants to attack his appearance, like Donald Trump calling him Pee Wee Herman? I mean, really, I'm not saying any human being is perfect. You can disagree with Ossoff's politics or policies. That's fine. You're going after him, the person? A man who's been happily married and has kids, a good father, a good husband, who has no scandals in his life? None. Zero. Never been charged with a crime in his life? Doesn't speak to lobbyists, refuses to, gets up, goes to work, goes home, and is a family man. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? So for all you scumbags out there on the right, because many of you are, that think it's, oh my God, it's so over the line to bring up Natalie Harp's name, this crazy lunatic, by the way, who was living at Donald Trump's golf course in the woman's locker room because they wouldn't allow her anywhere near a hotel room near Donald Trump because they had concerns. A lunatic whose own family members are saying their relationship is very unhealthy. She's obsessed with him. Yeah, for us to raise some questions because Melania Trump hasn't been seen in public in quite some time now. And she seems to be by his side like his catheter, okay? Yes, I think it's a little strange. I think it's a little bit weird. Yeah, I think it's a little strange. And I think it's fair to ask some questions. I do. I just want to finish playing some of these video clips and then we'll get to the YouTube super chat. But I did want to read one. The Mean Season says, you the man, Brian. Your Laura Ingraham imitation is priceless. Love your channel and binge watching your videos. Keep up the stellar work. Well, thank you, The Mean Season. I'll continue. Welcome to Fox News. I'm Laura Ingraham. Shut up and dribble. Unless you're a white female basketball player that's straight, then it's okay to talk about politics. Then we'll get angry if they don't answer our questions. Unless you're Kid Rock, trash, you can play the guitar later, but I'm going to ask you about politics. Unless you're Ted Nugent, right? You can talk about politics because you're straight white male MAGA moron. Unless you're Kurt Schilling. You can throw a baseball later, but, you know, since you agree with me, but if you're a black basketball player that disagrees, shut up and dribble, because I'm a racist witch. That's Laura Ingraham for you right there. Freaking turd. Racist imbecile. So stupid. She is. She's the racist scarecrow. That's what she is. Laura Ingraham. Welcome to the Ingraham Angle. Today we're going to attack black people for an hour. It's what my listeners want. We're going to have Brandon the Klansman on the show coming up next segment. She's going to attack Barack Obama, even though he was president over a decade ago, but he's black. That's Laura Ingraham. Stupid moron. Ed Krasenstein had it best. Ed's done this show before. I love the Krasenstein brothers. I think they're great. And he just points out real quickly here how stupid this whole situation is in like 15 seconds.
Trump supporters are having a meltdown because of this.
He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie.
They're saying that John Ossoff's comment right there was sexist. But there's literally dozens of photos of Trump traveling with Natalie Harp, including escaping on the catering truck with her. Trump supporters.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. And Ed's right. I mean, it's like they've made an issue themselves out of this whole thing. And I think it's very fair to ask some questions about it. I'm going to take a quick break. And before I do that, I want to give out the cell phone number, not my cell phone number, the phone number at the station. You're not getting my cell phone number, ladies and gentlemen. Neither's Laura Ingraham. I want that guy Brian's number. He's got the right skin color. No, I'm not giving Laura my number. The number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of the show, we've been talking about a lot. We had some great guests on. Obviously, we had Ron Filipkowski join us in segment number 1. The great David Pakman joining us last segment. I put up a poll on Twitter, by the way. Who is most likely sleeping with Donald Trump these days? The poll I just put up there, no pun intended there. Natalie Harp is an option. Laura Loomer is another option, and Scott Bessent is another option as well. Scott likes men, so I just threw that out there. I put that out there. The poll is up, so you guys can vote on it. So a lot of things that we're talking about today. Obviously, your thoughts on this situation where people on the right are going after Ossoff for simply saying in his speech that Natalie Harp is traveling with the president. That's really all he said. He didn't say anything else. And now they're calling him misogynist. They're calling him all sorts of names. I do find that kind of interesting and strange. Reaction to Ron Filipkowski and David Pakman, who joined us, talked a little bit about social media and how it's wrecking the brains of so many Americans in this country. And yes, I tend to agree with him on that. 2,000 Mules. It's a news story that just came out today. Dinesh D'Souza basically had to admit that everything he did was a lie in that movie. He had to pay somebody else off and apologize. I've been calling him out for years now. He's a former convicted felon. He's a liar who called Barack Obama a Negro on social media constantly. This entire film is a joke, and he's been sued multiple times, and he's had to pay it out and admit that he lied. So the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-SAVE. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the show, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to pay some bills. And when we come back, we are going to take your phone calls and some quick announcements on the show that I have for you as well. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. All right, welcome back. Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. William, he's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. And Shannon's Everywhere, who is a staunch right-wing conservative media socialite. She's going to be joining us in studio. We're going to have a good debate tomorrow on the program. Brian Collin, who is one of my favorite comedians. You know him from the Hangover movies. Of course, you know him from the movie Old School, many of iconic films, cult classics. He's also a political podcaster, so he's going to be joining us on the show on Thursday. That's going to be a lot of fun. Attorney General Aaron Ford who is running for governor of the great state of Nevada. He's the current attorney general, so been wanting to get him on the show for a while. Leonard Cardinale is going to be joining us in studio Friday instead of tomorrow because I'm jam-packed with guests tomorrow. So we have a lot of people that are waiting on hold. I certainly want to get to as many phone calls as I can, and then we'll talk a little bit about some new merchandise I have up on the website. Why don't we start with Jimmy? Jimmy is first up on PTL. Hello, Jimmy.
How you doing, Brian?
What's on your mind, Jimmy?
Yeah, I was wondering why, you're talking about this comment this guy made about Trump traveling with some hottie, but you'd think you'd be talking about Eric Swalwell, who was known to have tried to get other interns into other Congress people's
Jimmy, have I not?
offices.
Jimmy,
so
why would
they
I
could
talk about
spy.
Jimmy? You got to let me talk
So
now.
they could
Jimmy,
spy on us.
Jimmy, you got to let me talk now. Jimmy, why would I talk about Eric Swalwell today? Jimmy, you got to let me talk. Okay, if we're going to have a conversation, you made your point. You asked me, why aren't you talking about Eric Swalwell today? Eric Swalwell stepped down over a month ago. I covered that story. I talked about it. I've called him a scumbag. Why is it whataboutism with you all the time? Why would I talk about Eric Swalwell today?
Bring that up.
Jimmy, I brought it up when it happened, you dumbass. Why would I talk about Eric Swalwell today? Today, the Natalie Harp story is in the news. Let me explain something to you, Jimmy, okay? I'm going to try to help you out. I cover the news cycle. When Eric Swalwell and all that stuff came out, I talked about it immediately. I talked about it for weeks. I said he did the right thing by stepping down. I called him a scumbag. I said if he broke any laws, they should prosecute him. I covered that extensively on this show. Why would I talk about Eric Swalwell today? It's not in the news, Jimmy. That's old news. I'm talking about Natalie Harp because that's in the news today.
Sweep it under the rug. Sweep it under the rug. That's what you do.
Jimmy, did I not? Jimmy,
I remember.
Jimmy, no, because you just said something stupid, and now I'm going to respond to it. You can have your feminine laugh. That's fine, Jimmy. Jimmy, I just explained to you that I covered the story. When you say sweep it under the rug, that would mean I haven't covered it. I covered the story extensively. If you were listening to me a moment ago, you would have understood. When all that Eric Swalwell stuff came out, I covered it extensively. I called him out plenty of times, and I'm glad he stepped down. When you say sweep it under the rug, are you talking about the Epstein files, the 3 million files that have yet to be released? When you
Talk about old news.
Is it old news?
Years ago?
Is it old news?
How many years
10
ago
years
was
ago.
that?
10 years ago. What are you talking about?
How many years ago was it?
When what? When what? How many years ago?
How many years ago did the Epstein file thing happen?
How many years ago did the Epstein file thing happen? It's not a thing that just happened, Jimmy. It's an ongoing thing with victims that haven't got. Jimmy, I'm answering. Jimmy, I'm answering your question. That means you need to shut up and stop interrupting me, dumbass. Okay. Now, I know you want to reference Democrats. It was there during the Biden administration. Jimmy, do you know who Ghislaine Maxwell is?
I think they should.
Jimmy, you need to answer my question and pay attention. Otherwise, this conversation is over. Do you know who Ghislaine Maxwell is? Yes or no?
Yeah, she was.
Okay, good. I don't need your explanation, okay, because you're an idiot. I don't need your explanation. When was she under investigation, Jimmy? Jimmy, I need you to focus now. When I ask you a question, you need to answer. I know you need to focus. If you're going to act like a little child, I'm going to treat you like one. Jimmy, when was she under investigation? Jimmy, I need you to focus. That means you need to stop talking and pay attention. Jimmy, you mentioned the Epstein files. You mentioned when Biden was president. Jimmy, when was she under investigation?
You talk about that.
Jimmy, I'm now asking you the same question 4 times. It's very difficult to have a conversation with somebody with such a low IQ and low attention span as yours. Let's try this one more time. You're going to answer my question or the conversation is over. Jimmy, when was Maxwell under investigation? When was she under investigation? Are you aware when?
Maxwell, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Okay, that wasn't the question. I didn't ask you if it's been a while, Jimmy. The question was,
what did you ask me?
Okay, I've now asked it 6 times. This is the problem when you don't listen. Yes, I have. No, I've asked it 6 times, Jimmy, and this is going to be the last time. This is going to be the last time if you don't answer. When was she under investigation?
What date?
Okay, so you don't know. So I'll help you out, Jimmy, okay?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Help
thank
me
you.
out.
Okay, please pay attention, Jimmy. And there's a reason why I'm asking this, okay? Because you're obviously ignorant to facts. She was under
ahead.
investigation during the Biden administration. The files were sealed. She also had a trial under the Biden administration. The files were sealed. When she was found guilty, it was under appeal. The files were sealed. So Biden was unable to release the files. The files have not been under seal during the Trump administration. By law, he's breaking the law right now because every single Democrat voted to release all the files. Many Republicans voted not to release it. Donald Trump is hiding something. So if you really want to talk about, Jimmy, I'm not done talking yet. That means you don't interrupt me. If you want to talk about sweeping something under the rug, I think somebody should sweep you under the rug. You're an embarrassment to this country, Jimmy. I wish you were, Jimmy, you are an embarrassment to this country. You're obviously not intelligent. You're certainly not smart enough to have a reasonable conversation. You can't spell the word fact. And we're talking about Natalie Harp today. And news from months ago, Eric Swalwell, who's no longer a politician, the Democrats made sure he stepped down. I covered that story extensively, but somehow today we should be talking about Eric Swalwell. Makes you a complete idiot, Jimmy. Okay, so have a nice day. Okay, dummy. God, we're all dumber because I took a call from Jimmy. 702-221-7283. Chris is calling, I believe, out of New York. Hello, Chris. Earth to Chris, calling out of New York. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. What up?
Chris, this is live radio.
We got service. We got service.
I don't know if you have service on your Obama phone. Check it. I don't know. Make sure. I don't know.
Well, anyway, it's a nice day out. You know, I was walking. I seen a lot of beautiful things.
Don't care. I don't care. Oh, pot him down right now. Pot him down right now. Chris, you're not going to waste our airtime. I don't care if you took a walk today. I don't care if you took a crap. I don't care if you saw beautiful things. Okay, Chris? Get to the point and be on topic or the conversation is over. Do you understand?
Why do you lack empathy?
Okay, Chris, have a nice day. Why do I lack empathy? Is that what he just said? Did he just say, why do you lack empathy? Well, you're right, Chris. I don't have empathy for an idiot like you. You can go fly a kite, my man, okay? I don't have any empathy for idiots like you.
You lack empathy for Charlie Kirk.
Thank you, Chris. I lack empathy for Charlie Kirk. I'm not even going to address that because you're such an idiot. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Elizabeth, calling out of Canada. What's up, Elizabeth?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing okay, as long as the phone calls, and I know it will be a lot better than that last call. What's on your mind today?
I didn't hear it because I put the volume down. I know you want it down.
You're prepared. I like that. You know, MAGA Republicans struggle to follow direction. You don't strike me as one of those people.
No, I'm not perfect, far from it. But anyways, I just wanted to say I enjoy your show a great deal.
Thank you.
And I hope you keep up the great work. And no, I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump.
Well, I'm glad there's a lot of people in Canada that are not fans of Donald Trump. That's for sure.
I don't think there's too many Americans there neither.
Well, you know what? That's a really good point. His approval numbers are some of the worst in modern day history. So I think you're onto something there. I agree with you. I'm just really, it seems to me, and you could tell me whether you disagree, that he's been more hard and tough on Canada, our friends, than Russia or North Korea. Like he's
I wonder why.
It's insane. And by the way, while this is all going on, Vladimir Putin is sharing intel with Iran. North Korea is sending weapons to Iran, and yet he's still in a trade war with Canada.
It's crazy, Brian. Crazy. He's going to have us all killed with his craziness.
I got to tell you, there's a lot of people that are dying because of Donald Trump's policies. We could be talking about the big and beautiful bill. We could be talking about the war in Iran, taking food stamps away from Americans that need it. It's really something else. And I love Canada. I think the people in Canada are wonderful people. A lot of friends that are from Canada, and I'm just mesmerized at how he just wants to go after our great allies, and yet even he's going after South Korea the other day. We've always had
totally insane, Brian.
Yeah.
I've been following American politics for quite some time now, but good Lord.
Well,
this is insane.
Be happy that your president isn't Donald Trump. That's all I will say. Be happy. We have to deal with him here, but you stay safe out there in Canada. Wonderful people in Canada. You'll always be our allies at PTL. So you take care, and I appreciate your call. Okay, my dear?
Thank you so much, Brian. Have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful day.
Thank you. You
Take
too.
care.
I love it
Okay.
that we have listeners in Canada. I love it. We get callers from Canada all the time and listeners. I love it. Number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of the program is 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. MAGA mushroom gobblers are always welcome to call into the show. Let's go to Robin. Robin is calling out of Massachusetts. What's up, Robin?
Yes. Hey, I love you to death.
Thank
you're
you.
the sweetest, and you're a hero.
Oh, well, I don't know about
And-
that, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. My beef is I don't think that Americans understand us sending billions of dollars to Israel, and I think none of them know that the Israel people have universal health care.
Right.
And we're sitting there and sending them billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they have universal health care. Boy, they're sitting in the lap of luxury, and we're over here suffering. Our elderly
So it's a
are
good point.
suffering. And
It's a good point that you bring up, and I do talk about Israel a lot because my position has changed a little bit. Now, I'll start off by saying this: I love the Israeli people. I think they're wonderful people. Yes, of course, I believe Israel and the people that live in Israel should be able to live their life and be free, and all that stuff. I think Benjamin Netanyahu is a smarter version of Donald Trump. I believe he's a war criminal. I believe the Israeli government is just as corrupt as any other government. And I believe Benjamin Netanyahu is horrific for his own people. He doesn't protect his own people. He only cares about remaining in power. And I think one of the main reasons, besides how stupid Donald Trump is, he's played Donald Trump like a fiddle. And we are in Iran right now because of Benjamin Netanyahu persuading Donald Trump for some of the same reasons why, not the only reason, why we went to war with Iraq and we were told weapons of mass destruction. Israel pressured George W. Bush. And yes, Halliburton and Dick Cheney. I'm not saying it's the only reason. There were other reasons too. But they lied to us then. They lied to us now. And Donald Trump is fooled, because he was fooled. He was played as a puppet. This war has gone horribly wrong. But we knew it because we knew when you have people like Pete Hegseth that are running the show, they had no real plan. Now he's saying the Strait of Hormuz is going to be the Strait of America when we're not even in control of the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, it's insane.
It's the most ridiculous thing that we've ever had to deal with, the most ridiculous thing.
I feel for the troops. I feel for the people that are on that ship that they keep demeaning and calling liars. I feel for our brave men and women in uniform. I feel for the innocent people in Iran that have died. Yes, there are plenty of innocent people and children that have died in Iran. There are innocent people that have died in Israel. I hate loss of life. Yes, of course, I don't feel for the Ayatollah. Of course, I don't feel bad when terrorists are killed. Of course not. But there are a lot of innocent people that have died because Donald Trump is so stupid. He believed Benjamin Netanyahu, and now they can't even figure out a way to get out of this war.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make sure that Americans know that Israel people have universal health care, and there's absolutely no reason we should be paying their bills.
I agree. I've had it with the Israeli government. We have to stop sending them money. Now, listen.
It's ridiculous.
If Iran had invaded Israel the way Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, I would probably think differently. But that did not happen. I support Ukraine. I support what we have done. Yes, it's cost us a lot of money. I understand that, but we cannot allow Vladimir Putin to win because it is a threat to us and it is a threat to the world. This is different. Israel can defend themselves and Iran did not invade Israel. So that is why I am not for this war. That is why I am done with supporting the Israeli government. I've had it with the money that we're sending over there. And Benjamin Netanyahu is a sick, evil war criminal who just happens to be a little bit more savvy than Donald Trump. That's all.
Yeah. And Trump is about to cut off all of our elderly this next year. I'm over it.
Isn't it interesting?
I'm so angry.
Isn't it interesting that the conservatives talk a tough game about conserving and Doge and wasteful spending, but all of a sudden we can print money, $2 billion a day on an illegal and ill-advised war? They're totally okay with that. But, let's take Medicare away from people. Let's take food stamps and government assistance away from people. But we can spend $2 billion a day on a war where we should never have been there to begin with. I find that very interesting.
And when I found out that Israel had universal health care, I was so angry. And I thought, why isn't every single Democrat talking about this? Why?
Yeah, well, I think they need to talk about it more. We got the midterms right around the corner. Stay safe out there in Massachusetts. I love it. I used to spend a lot of time in Boston. Grew up a big Celtics fan, and you stay safe out there. I love it. I love it. Rhonda is calling out of Florida. What's up, Rhonda?
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Long time no hear. Hey, I'm so proud of you. You got the T-shirts. I thought we
The
we
Trump
talked about it
mushroom.
last year.
The Trump mushroom.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get that graphic up. The Trump mushroom gobbler T-shirts are out. We have several new T-shirts that are up there on pushingthelimits.live. We have a new T-shirt that went up there today. It's me pointing at all of you. And it's pointing and me saying, "Don't be a Trump mushroom gobbler." So they're funny. We're putting that up actually right now so we can show it to everybody. But yeah, they're up there.
How can I purchase them?
Yep. You go to pushingthelimits.live, which is my website. Again, it's pushingthelimits.live. And then you'll just go to the shopping section of the website and you'll see all the T-shirts and all the stuff up there.
Got you. That'd be great to wear for the midterms. I'm gonna get a couple of shirts, Brian.
Oh, that's
so
really
proud of you.
That's really nice
Keep
of you.
doing what you're doing.
Thank you, my dear. That's really nice of you, and I appreciate that. And anybody who sends me a picture of them wearing the shirt, I will post on social media. We want everybody to see it. Okay.
Okay. Hey, next is the hat. Okay.
Yes, you got it. Thank you, my dear.
I got it.
I
All right,
appreciate
dear.
you. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to David. David is calling out of Georgia. Hello, David.
Hey, Brian. How have you been?
Hey, what's up?
Not too much. I talked to you last week, about a few things. I probably sounded like an asshole, which I'm really not.
Be careful the language, though. Okay, that's all I ask.
Okay. Well, is that a bad word?
Yeah, you can't say that because we're on the radio. But that's okay. That's okay.
Oh, okay.
That's
I'm not. I need to catch up on the 7
That's
words,
all
I
right.
guess.
Don't worry about it. What's on your mind today, David? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, after talking to you last week, I started doing a little more research on things. And were you aware that there were no drones being used that day?
I don't know what you're talking about. What? I don't know what.
Event. And ho-hum.
I'm sorry. What in regards to what? Drones in regards to what?
The Kirk event. The assassination.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the. Yeah, I didn't know what you were talking about. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if drones were being used or not. I will tell you this in regards to Charlie Kirk. He was asked many a times if he wanted people to be patted down, and he wanted to make sure people didn't have any weapons, and he said no. Listen, I thought that was a big mistake. I'm not saying that would have necessarily saved his life, but he was very pro-gun, and I find it very interesting that it was a gun that actually took his life, allegedly. So
he's a martyr to his own cause.
Yeah, listen. As I've said a million times, I didn't like Charlie Kirk. I don't think he was a good dude, but there's a difference between not wanting to celebrate his life and celebrating his death. I would never celebrate his death, and by the way, I never have. The day it happened.
I would love to have debated the little son of a bitch, especially on the Bible.
I was actually supposed to meet him at AmFest months after he was killed, and I was actually looking forward to doing that. Listen, I have some friends on the right, and they always, when we get into these Charlie Kirk conversations, they always say, Brian, you would have liked him, you would have gotten along with him. I don't think I would have. Maybe I could have had a cordial conversation with him, but that doesn't mean I would have liked him, right? I don't like what he stood for. I've given direct quotes of the racist things that he said, and people continue. People still defend it, and he didn't deserve to die. He didn't deserve to be murdered. I'm not fond of his wife. I'm sorry, Erica. You lost your husband. It's horrible. Your kids have to grow up without a father. That's terrible. But yeah,
he wouldn't have been a very good father. He treated a couple of monsters.
Yeah. I mean, listen. What happened to him was terrible. It's bad for the country. We can never condone political violence on either side of the aisle. We will see the way it turns out in court. I do think that even though I'm not a Candace Owens fan, I do think she brings up some valid questions. And hopefully those questions will be answered in a courtroom. But ultimately, it's a jury that's going to decide Tyler Robinson's fate. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do think that Candace has raised some very valid questions. And that's pretty much as far as I take it. We are now approaching 1 year since almost 1 year since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And it's a bad day. It's a sad day. It's a bad day. We can't condone political violence, no matter who is responsible for it. It's terrible. As much as you disagree with somebody, it could be me, it could be Charlie Kirk, it could be anybody. We can never condone any form of violence because you don't like what somebody has to say. I've been very consistent on that. And I've also been consistent on people that were celebrating his death. I thought that was wrong. There are people that lost their jobs. And listen, if you work for an employer and you represent them, they have the right to fire you, and you shouldn't be condoning violence. Okay. We're not talking about a child molester, right? We're not talking about somebody who committed horrible, violent crimes. That would be one thing. But yeah, again, was not a Charlie Kirk fan, will never be a Charlie Kirk fan. I'm not a fan of Erica Kirk. I'm not a fan of Turning Point. But that being said, we cannot condone violence. It's wrong. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. All right, let's get back to those phone lines. And who do we have next here? Let's go to Mark, who's calling out of North Carolina, wants to talk about Jon Ossoff. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
Ossoff also talked about Kim Jong-un and picture that Trump put up of himself with Kim Jong-un. Fox News didn't want to cover that. They want to call everyone who opposes Trump a communist. And he believes everything Putin says. He posts these pictures with Kim Jong-un. And, you know, there are other people, there are other good progressives taking down Donald Trump. Talarico has some good things to say. And that's not all Ossoff said.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you, obviously. Ossoff didn't make any off-color remarks. He didn't accuse them of having some sexual relationship. I think the point that he was trying to make, which was the bigger point, is Donald Trump is more interested in going on his plane with his assistant, going to play golf, and partying it up with her and Haba over the weekend. He's more interested in doing stuff like that than trying to get us out of this war and helping the American people and getting us out of this bad economy that we're in right now. That was his entire speech.
It's about to get a lot worse.
I agree. I wish you were wrong, but I agree with you.
In November.
Yeah, I agree.
One other thing, Brian.
Yeah.
One little pet peeve. You say Democrat Party.
Yes, it's
and
the Democratic
right wing talking party. Yeah.
Well,
Please
I wouldn't
start
say it's.
calling it the
I wouldn't
Democratic
say it's
Party.
a. I wouldn't say it's a right wing thing. It just it's me misspeaking. So don't put me in that category of right wing. But it is the Democratic. It is the Democratic Party. You are correct, and I appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you for the phone call. The Democratic Party. 702-221-7283. 702-221-7283. Let's go to John. I believe John is calling out of Illinois. Yes. What's up, John?
Hey, Brian. Hey, yeah, I was listening to what you were saying about Charlie Kirk not wanting to pat people down.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of back in Trump's first term when Mike Pence was at the NRA meeting. The people who wanted to listen to Mike Pence speak had to surrender all their guns.
Yeah.
Because even the Secret Service wasn't going to allow these aides to own guns because they know whether or not a guy was going to want to take a shot at Mike Pence.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably smart, right? When you're a political figure or a Charlie Kirk type, you should want proper security. I mean, I want proper security when I go to events, and I'm just Brian Shapiro, right? If you're the vice president or Charlie Kirk, you should want as much security as possible, especially in the times that we are living in today. I'm going to have an armed security guard walking around with me when I do interviews at the Republican National Convention, and I'm very appreciative of that. The group that I'm with is paying for that, and that's something that I requested. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I've always felt that way, and all it takes is one crazy lunatic. I don't know whether Tyler Robinson acted alone. I'm going to let the courts figure that one out. I want whoever was responsible to be held to the highest extent of the law. Right.
I hear you.
We can never condone violence, whether it's January 6th or whether people beat cops during Black Lives Matter protests, or whether it's somebody who murdered Charlie Kirk, or whether it's somebody who shot at, General Kelly's wife. It's just we need to all be on the same page there. And that's why I don't like getting into the conversations of there's more violence on this side than that side. There's violence on both sides.
Right.
And whether it's 60-40 or 55-45, who cares? It shouldn't be about scoring points. That's why I didn't like that debate that Tim Pool did. I just thought it was a stupid topic, right? Because it happens on both sides of the aisle. And I don't like getting into conversations like that. If it happens on both sides of the aisle and one side does it a little bit more than the other side, no matter who it is, does that change anything? We should all want it to stop, right? Now, Now, the gun control issue is a whole nother issue. Yes, I do blame one party, one side, for not doing anything about the gun violence in this country, and that would be the Republican Party. That's a different topic. But there's one party that wears AR-15 pins into the House chambers days after a school shooting. There's one party that wants to make it easier for people to get their hands on guns. There's one party that is taking healthcare away from 20 million Americans. Some of those Americans suffer from mental illness. They need help, and they're totally okay with some of those people purchasing guns. So there is one party that is not doing anything or making it worse when it comes to all the violence in this country. And you do have the Democratic Party, which I will give them credit for. And they've been trying to do things for years. I remember after the Sandy Hook shooting, Barack Obama tried to do anything he could to pass some gun laws down, and the Republicans just kept blocking it. So if we're going to talk about actual gun violence, I blame a lot of it on the Republican Party that care more about getting an A+ rating from the NRA than making us safer. That's just a fact. That's not an opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yep. Thank you, my man. Appreciate the phone call. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in this Tyler Robinson case. I tend to think, and I could be wrong, but I tend to think that he's going to be found guilty. I'm not a Candace Owens fan. I never have been. I think she's a grifter. However, well, I don't believe everything she says. I don't think that Israel or France were responsible. I don't think that Turning Point were responsible. But she does raise some very valid questions. Why did they pave over the murder scene 3 days after? That's unheard of. Why is there no evidence to suggest that there was an autopsy or that they checked his clothing? And why were members of his security detail taking evidence from the scene? Why were there weird hand motions seconds before Charlie Kirk was shot? There's a lot of unanswered questions. And hopefully they'll be answered in a timely manner in this trial. I'm hoping. I don't think that Tyler Robinson will get the death penalty if he's found guilty. I think it'll probably be life in prison without the possibility of, parole or life in prison without the possibility of getting out. All right. Number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. Dave is calling out of Sacramento. Hey, Dave, what's going on?
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah. Hey, Dave, what's up?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
So, I've been really ticked off. I've been really ticked off about people when it comes to voting. Let's just get that out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just put it out there. If you don't have a conscience, in other words, if you don't know what's right and wrong, and you basically always listen to people for your own answers, then you shouldn't be voting, for one thing. You should know between
Okay, can I ask you a
right
question then,
wrong.
David? David, can I ask you a question? Because I think it's a unique
Absolutely.
conversation. Do you think there should be a basic civics test or IQ test for somebody to vote?
I think so. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? I mean, I have a conscience and I know what's right and wrong. I mean, I know. I mean, it doesn't take rocket science. When a person's hungry, you give them food, and when somebody's thirsty, you give them to drink. You don't take somebody's Social Security away. You don't take somebody's food stamps away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you know better. You know better, people. You know better that, and these Republicans say that they know the Lord, they know God, and they know.
No,
they
David,
believe
I
in
hear
God.
what
Look,
you're saying, but it's very gray territory that you're going into now, because I think everybody should have the fundamental right to vote. Obviously, unless you're a convicted felon, I think everybody should have the right to vote, no matter how smart you are, no matter what your IQ is. I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you. If you had some sort of IQ test, I think 90% of the people that voted for Donald Trump wouldn't have been able to vote. I'll be honest with you. But at the same time, you really want to take away someone's right to vote because they're not semi-intelligent. I think that's a very dangerous, slippery slope to go on. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but maybe I should have said it I shouldn't have said it that way, but I'm just trying to say, you got to understand. I mean, come on, people. You know that if you have a conscience, and if somebody's taking away someone's food stamps and they're not helping people or the homeless, and they're basically taking away your health care, why in the hell somebody that you believe in, who's a Republican, that say they believe in God, you know, I'm not trying to throw a religious, you know, scripture in here because I know I can, but you know, if just like Jesus said, you know, you give me food, you know, I was hungry, you give me food. I was thirsty, you give me drink. I was naked.
I get that.
Okay, I get it.
I get what
I
you're
get it.
saying. I get what you're saying,
But
let's
why
just-
would you want me to vote for a Republican? Why would you want to vote
Well,
for a
listen,
Republican? I don't get it.
obviously,
I don't get it.
Obviously, in 2026, I agree with you. But if you run into somebody that says, "I just vote because I like Donald Trump's hair," are we going to go up to that person? We can go up to them and say, "Geez, I wish you weren't able to vote." But are we really going to take away that person's right to vote? Yeah, we all walk away from that saying,
No.
"What an idiot! I wish that person didn't vote. What a dummy." But we really can't take away their right to vote just because we disagree with how
And
they
nobody's
vote.
asking.
Right.
And nobody's
Well, some
asking
are.
for somebody to take away their.
Some are.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I'm not the. I'm like I said, I'm a full independent. I voted for Barack Obama twice.
Yep.
You know, I voted for Clinton twice. I voted for Ronald Reagan one time.
Right.
Okay, so I get it. But the bottom line is this. You know, what I don't understand. You know that the Republicans don't care about any kind of social services.
Well,
And
of course,
whether-
that's
whether-
way before Trump.
whether-
Yeah, that's way before Trump
Right,
too.
and you.
Yeah.
But have you ever seen a Democrat ever make fun of anybody? No. Have you ever seen a Democrat ever take away food stamp? No. Have you ever seen a Democrat ever take Social Security away? No. Have you ever seen anybody take away health care? You know,
Not
away
Democrats,
to the
no.
Democrat? No.
No.
No. So what choice do you have that you would want to vote for a Republican? Knowing
Well,
the
I
fact
could
that they're
tell
gonna
you
be
there's a
taking that
lot
away
of
when you put them in office anyway.
David, I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. I think a lot of people vote Republican for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes they're rich and they know that it's going to be better in their bank account if they get somebody on the right that'll give them tax breaks. I think for others, it's they don't want to be represented by minorities. It's called racism and bigotry, or they don't want gay people in their party, people that are anti-gay, people that are anti-brown. These are people that voted for Donald Trump. So I think it could be racism. It could be bigotry. It could be a large amount of money in your bank account. You're going to save money on taxes. There's a lot of different reasons why people vote Republican. Now, I disagree with those reasons, of course. And then when I asked a lot of these Republicans, what policies do you not like? I mean, I will give, I will say this, even though this is not a top 5 or a top 10 issue, I was talking with somebody about this earlier today, about the transgenders, right, in sports. It's not a top 5 or a top 10 issue, and there's only like 10 college athletes that are transgender. But I do think the way the WNBA has handled this is very embarrassing. It's very simple. You put out a statement. You say, you can only play in our league if you're born a woman. That's it. That's it. And then we can move on. You're giving Republicans something to talk about. Knock it off. I'm not a fan of the WNBA. I've never been a fan of the WNBA for a lot of different reasons. I don't think it's a very good product. But who is in charge that is making these decisions? We all know that if you're born a man, transition to a woman, you're going to have physical advantages over a naturally born woman. So just put out a statement. That doesn't mean you're attacking transgenders. Why can't the WNBA just put out a statement that says you can only play in our league if you're born a woman? That's it. End of conversation. The fact that they don't do that means that the people that are running the WNBA are idiots. I'm sorry, I'm just going to call it for what it is. Idiots. You're giving the right something to talk about to attack the left on, even though I think 80% of people believe that, yeah, trans women should not be competing with women on the playing field. It's insane. Just put out a statement, okay? Anybody out there that thinks that naturally a born man transition to a woman on a whole won't have physical advantages over women? Come on, man. This is just plain logic stuff, okay? This isn't a top 5 issue. It's not a top 10 issue. There are more prevalent things to talk about. It's why I don't talk about it a lot on this show. But can they just put out a damn statement already? Can you just put out a damn statement? WNBA, you look foolish and embarrassing. And this is part of the reason why your league has lost money 28 years in a row. Can you just put out a damn statement already? I'm sick of Clay Travis and these idiots on the right that look for every opportunity to go after gay black basketball players. They look at every opportunity to go after trans people. I want them to shut up. Put out a statement. No, we will not allow transgender women in our league. Here's why. If you're born a woman, great. If you're born a man, it doesn't matter whether you transitioned into a woman or not, we will not allow you in our league. Conversation is over. Yes, I don't believe that transgender women should be competing with women on the playing field, but it's not a huge issue. It's happening at such a small level at college, at the college level. I've been very, very consistent on that opinion. And that's it. And for anybody out there that says, Brian, do you hate trans people? You're a moron. What I am saying has nothing to do with my feelings towards trans people. I have no problem with transgender people. None at all. I will call you he. I will call you she. I will be respectful. I want you to live your life. You should be allowed to do whatever you want with your body, and it's none of my business. I don't hate transgender people. It's the opposite. The only thing I'm saying is it is an advantage if you're a transgender woman competing with women on the playing field. That's all. That doesn't mean I hate transgender people. And anybody that would come out to that conclusion is probably a Donald Trump supporter, and you're a moron. 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Let's go to CJ, who's calling out of Louisiana. Hello, CJ.
Hey, Brian. That previous caller wanting to have a poll test, of course, those are illegal. But what about a ballot access test?
That's interesting. I didn't really think about that.
Meaning to be on the ballot to run for office, you should be able to at least, and we should standardize it. We already have a good one. It's the one we give to naturalized citizens who want to apply, who want to be citizens of the United States but weren't born here, and don't have citizen parents.
That's interesting. I think that's very interesting. Listen, as you know, we're always going to have a percentage of people in this country that are very ill-informed and stupid, and they're going to vote for the wrong reasons. Unfortunately, we can't. I've debated some people on this, and I'm not even going to mention their names because they're just such idiots, and they shouldn't be taken seriously. But I've debated some people that don't believe that women should be allowed to vote. How can you have a legit? Of course, How could you have a legitimate? You can't have a legitimate conversation with an idiot like that. Or they think that if you're not paying into the system, meaning if you're not paying taxes, I guess. So what does that mean? Does that mean if you're born with a disability, you shouldn't have the right to vote? I mean, these people are not serious people. I can't have a conversation with people like that.
Yeah, but I'm saying that to be in public office, not to vote, that we should have stronger requirements to hold office than to vote.
Yeah.
And these people are doing it the other way. You said yourself that convicted felons shouldn't vote, but we have a 34-count convicted felon in the White House.
That's true.
Office.
It says a lot about where this country is at right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
By the way, I agree with that. I think
the whole felon shouldn't be allowed to vote thing went out the window.
I mean, I agree with that, though. I think if you're a convicted felon, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. I think you've lost your right.
On a philosophical level, but I mean, we kind of like,
Yeah.
That right. So now it'd be kind of hypocritical of us to try and enforce.
No, I agree.
If we let a convicted felon
listen, our electoral
the highest office in the land.
Listen, this is a whole opening up another can of worms, but I think our electoral college is a joke. I've always said it should be popular vote. I don't care where you live. One vote shouldn't be more important than another one. It's so stupid. The only reason why we have the electoral college is so that Republicans have a chance to win. Let's just call it for what it is. And then I hear people saying, well, people aren't going to, campaign in certain states if it's popular vote. Fine, so be it. I want a vote in New Hampshire to count just as much as a vote in California or Las Vegas or Nebraska. It shouldn't matter where you live. I think the Electoral College is a joke and it's a scam. It is a scam. It should be popular vote. And if it was popular vote, Hillary Clinton would have defeated Donald Trump, and maybe Donald Trump never becomes president of the United States. Think about that, because Hillary won the popular vote. Listen, I disagree with almost everything Republicans stand for these days. I really do. And there's no doubt that I lean to the left on many social issues. And maybe this is one where I don't. I played 2 college sports at the Division I level. Professional women cannot compete with professional men. Now, if I got on the basketball court right now, the Aces would kick my ass. If I played a couple sets with Serena Williams, she would kick my ass. If I got into the octagon with Ronda Rousey, she would literally kick my ass. We are talking about professional athletes. There is a reason why Because if you don't agree with what I'm saying, riddle me this. Why have we never seen any men compete with men at the professional level? Why is that? Because as a whole, and this has nothing to do with intelligence or your brain, we're talking about physical abilities at the professional level, at the college level, even at the high school level. If you're born a man, you are going to have some physical advantages over women. The professional women's soccer team with Megan Rapone, they lost to a bunch of 16-year-old boys in a scrimmage. Do you remember that? Why? I do believe that if you take a really good high school boys basketball team, they would probably beat a WNBA basketball team. Why? I'm not trying to attack. I love women's tennis, by the way. Now, I've said for a long time that I'm not a big WNBA fan. I don't think the product is great. That's just my personal opinion. But if you want to go with your family, it's a great environment. Go watch a game. I think it's great. I've gone to Aces games. I still have fun. It's not my favorite sport to watch. I remember I used to go to Flushing Meadows, New York every year to watch the professional U.S. Open tennis tournament. I used to love watching the women because I think the product is really good, and it's why professional women's tennis make almost as much money as the men. It's a really good product. Why? Well, in my opinion, the men serve the ball about 140 miles an hour at times, and the points are much shorter. But if you watch women's professional tennis, the points are very entertaining. They're long points. They're very entertaining. I think women's tennis is a phenomenal product, and I'm a fan. I enjoy it. I don't watch a lot of the WNBA because I don't think it's a great product. Listen, Caitlin Clark is phenomenal. It's fun to watch her. There's plenty of great athletes in the league. I used to watch Sue Bird for years. I grew up in Connecticut. The UConn women's basketball team is probably the best women's basketball program in history. I used to go to some of those games, and I watched Sue Bird, and I watched many of the other players, UConn women players, and their careers. Sure, I love the game of basketball, of course. Women's volleyball, another great sport to watch, as someone said in the chat. I agree. There are women's sports that are a lot of fun to watch, and women's tennis has always been my favorite. I grew up loving tennis, right? I love men's tennis as well, but I think the women's tennis product is, you can make the argument it's even better than the men. But unfortunately, people like to conflate things. For example, if I say I'm not a fan of something, that doesn't mean I'm bashing it. I just don't prefer it. I prefer women's tennis over women's basketball, for example. But the more important issue that I'm trying to get out here is the WNBA should just put out a basic statement. They have to come up with something, because these idiots like Royce White and Cantor, let's be honest, they're both morons. They're trying to make a name for themselves and that's mocking the WNBA, because number one, it's never going to happen. Okay. A guy like Royce White or a Cantor, who are former NBA basketball players, they're men, they're never going to be allowed to play in the WNBA. It's never going to happen. They would never allow it. So why not just put out a statement? I've been asked this question on Piers Morgan. I've been asked this question on other networks. I've said it's not a top 5 issue. It's not a top 10 issue. There are more important issues to talk about, like healthcare and the big and beautiful bill, losing healthcare to 20 million Americans, people losing government programs like food stamps, this war in Iran that is killing our economy, where our gas is over $4 a gallon. There are obviously more prevalent issues to talk about. And all I'm simply saying is, to make some of these discussions go away, and these magtards, to make them go away about the WNBA, it's very simple. Put out a statement and just simply say that we are not allowing transgender women to play in our league. That's it. That's all they have to say. And then the conversations will go away. I don't know why they haven't done that. And I think they should, and I think it's a mistake. That's all. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. We got about 5 or 6 minutes left in the show. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is calling out of Las Vegas. What's up, Mark?
Yes, I called in about the convicted felon thing. I'm a convicted felon from 1985.
Okay.
I did my sentence. I paid the restitution, completed parole and probation. Okay, so after you complete, a convicted felon can vote after they complete their parole or probation. They can't vote while they're in prison, of course.
Right.
I feel that's wrong. That you think that my rights should be taken away. What country should I be deported to?
Well, first of all, why would you think that I think you should be deported? Why did I ever say that?
No, you never said that. But
why would you assume that?
If I have no American rights, then what country should I go to?
Well, first of all, I've never said that. I've never said that if you commit a
Okay,
felon.
I know you didn't say
Yeah,
that.
I don't believe that. I'll clarify. I don't believe that
added
just
comment.
because you're a convicted felon, when you get out of jail, I don't think you should be deported. Absolutely not. I would never think that.
Okay,
so
but I can't vote.
if there is a
Can't
system,
drive what?
if
Can't
there,
drive a car. What?
I never said that either. Where did I say that if you're a
Well,
convicted felon, you shouldn't be allowed to
so-
drive? If you're a convicted felon, you're
I
allowed
can't
to get
make
your driver's
decisions
license.
about who should leave this country.
Well,
if I'm a convicted
well,
felon.
let's talk about that. But you kind of got off topic a little bit. I never said that if you're a convicted felon, you should be deported.
I'm getting off topic because
Yeah.
we're just adding. I'm just adding to it.
Well, yeah, I don't agree with that.
I feel offended
If you're,
by that.
if you're,
All right,
well,
I did my
okay.
time. I did.
All
I
right,
did
I
the
understand.
crime
Let me be
41 years ago.
okay. So let me just get this out in the open right now. If you're a convicted felon, I never said when you get out of jail and you do your time, you shouldn't have the right to drive a car. I don't think you should have the right to purchase a weapon. I'll start there. Do you think if you're a convicted felon?
Of course, I haven't owned one since.
Okay, so we agree on that. Here's what I would be okay with. Okay, after some time has passed and you're out of jail, and you've given back to society, you pay taxes, I would be okay with a case-by-case basis in an evaluation where you need to talk to someone and give them an update on where you are in your life. I don't know, maybe come up with 5 years down the road. Maybe you're out of jail for 5 years. You've gotten your life together. And I would be okay with a case-by-case basis and an evaluation. And I wouldn't be opposed to that. I wouldn't.
But you're opposed to automatically being able to vote after you complete your parole or probation.
Well, hold on. Repeat that again. Say that one more time.
You are opposed to convicted felons voting after they've served their time, completed their parole and or probation.
So you can be rehabilitated and out there in the workforce, but I do believe, and I think a lot of people agree with me on this one, and I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on this one, that if you are a convicted felon, and I think there are different levels of felonies, right? And I don't know what crime you've committed, but for example, okay, I'll give you an example. And by the way, I don't know what you did, okay, but I'm just giving you my personal feelings, right? If you're a convicted murderer and you killed somebody, a lot of people that kill people and murder people, unfortunately, they'll get sentenced to 30 years in prison. No, I think if you murder somebody and kill somebody, you should never be allowed to vote again for the rest of your life. Now, there are different levels of felonies, right? For example, if you get caught doing drugs, illegal drugs, you're not selling drugs to other people, and you get that's to me a far less serious crime, right? So I think there are different levels. So then we would go into the nuances. No, I think if you're a convicted murderer, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. That's just but there are different levels of the crime. So I would say to you, no, I think it depends on the level of the crime that you committed. I think that would be a nuance to how I feel about that. It depends on, does that make sense?
Yes. Most murderers who do the 20 and 30 years and 25 to life and get out, they're on parole or probation. They're on parole, not probation.
Some of them are, not all of them.
For the rest of their life.
Some of them are. You're right. You're right. Some of them are, not all of them. But
that means they can't vote.
I understand. But the point I'm trying to make is there are, when you say felony, yes, of course, there are very different levels on how serious a crime could be committed. And I think that would be a nuance to what I would say. Listen, you've got out of jail. You haven't committed a violent crime, but you are a convicted felon. You get out of jail. You do your time. You pay your debts to society. I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with those people voting. I believe, I don't know. Listen, I feel differently about this, but I think if you're a drunk driver and you kill people, I don't think you should ever be allowed to vote ever again either. I think you lost that
How about
privilege.
just not being able to drive ever again?
I agree with that too.
You
I agree
still
with
make
that too.
decisions on who runs the country.
If you're a convicted felon and you made the decision in your life to get into a car drunk and you killed a family, I don't think you should ever have the right to vote ever again. If you're a rapist and you've committed felonies and you're a rapist, I don't think you should ever have the right to vote again. There are different levels of crimes that people could commit that would fall under a felony where I'd be comfortable with people voting. And that's kind of how I feel about that, sir. But yeah, you're welcome to call back. I think it's an interesting conversation to have. It doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything, but there are different levels of crimes committed. Yes, I think if you killed somebody, you should never be allowed to vote the rest of your life. Hey, everybody, check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. And again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. We've got some new T-shirts out there. Don't be a Trump mushroom gobbler, among other things. And you can make donations. Pushingthelimits.live and help support what we do here at PTL. Be a YouTube subscriber. And we got a couple great guests lined up for you tomorrow and throughout the remainder of the week. I appreciate all the support and the great phone calls from all of you, even the MAGA Trump mushroom gobblers. There's my appearance that I'm going to be making in Dallas on September 9th. You check the QR code there. You can purchase tickets. We also have the link right there that Numchuck just put up. The tickets are under $20. I'll be debating a popular person on the right. I'm not allowed to publicly say who it is going to be yet, but I will be debating a live debate there. It's a few blocks away from where the Republican National Convention is. I love you guys. Thanks for joining us. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find